Hey guys, this is Phil, and for this video I wanted to explain on how I got my dream car at 16 and the whole process of me getting to the car I have now. So, basically, a lot of this wouldn't have happened if my dad didn't help me. My dad was a big part of this whole entire process on everything. Like, without his help, I wouldn't have been able to do most of the trades that I was able to do without him. But overall, how it all started was, well, first let me mention that I'm gonna be listing put every picture of every car that I have owned and that I've had in the past, and overall every single car that I've had. But it all started with my very first car that my dad got me. It was like a $1,500 GMC Envoy 2001. He told me, he's like, trade it, sell it, keep it, do what you want with it, it's yours. I'm like, okay. I liked the car, don't get me wrong, I liked it. It was a good first car. I was 15 at the time, so I was like thinking like, oh, like, it's gonna be time till I can drive, so let me try to like do something with it. But my dad told me, he's like, my friend has a 2004 Mini Cooper Turbo Sport. And my dad was like, want me to ask him if he wants to trade it? I'm like, yeah, go ahead, ask him, see if he wants to trade it. Because, obviously the Mini Cooper had more value than the GMC at the time. So he ended up agreeing with the trade. We traded the Mini Cooper and the GMC, so we ended up having the Mini Cooper. So I had a 2004 Mini Cooper Turbo Sport. I didn't like it whatsoever. I didn't like the car at all. But my dad did, because it was a gas saver. It was like a good, just overall daily driver. Like, it was a good overall car. But I didn't like it because it was kind of, it wasn't my type of style for car. But that was the very first trade I ever did with the car. Overall, the very first trade. And that trade was through the help of my dad, because it was a mutual friend. It was his friend that had the car. So it was the very first trade I ever made with the first car I had. And we had that Mini Cooper for a bit, because it didn't really matter at the time because I wasn't driving yet, so my dad drove it a lot more. I hadn't had my license yet, so it wasn't really useful for me yet. But me knowing that I had a goal set to get my dream car, which was a CLS 55 AMG Mercedes-Benz, that's the car I didn't want. Obviously, for some people, oh, that's a long stretch, you're not able to get to that. But my whole goal was to get to that car. And getting to that car involved a lot of patience and just being patient. My dad always told me, be patient, don't rush into a deal, don't let anybody lowball you, stand your ground. Because when you list the car and sell it, a lot of times people are gonna lowball you and try to get you down and tell you the reason, trying to downgrade your, down talk you and everything. But overall, you gotta know what your car's worth and just stand your ground and keep it at what you want to sell it for. So the very first trade I made was I had that Mini Cooper, right? But then I was thinking all right, so I'm about to turn 60 and I kind of want an SUV. So at the time I was looking at Marketplace, OfferUp, and I ended up finding this 2003 GMC Denali in Vancouver, a 6.0 liter V8. So I messaged the guy. I was like, "You're open to trades?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "What do you have?" I'm like, "I have a 2004 Mini Cooper Turbo Sport." And then he's like, "Oh, I'd be willing to do that trade." He's like, "Just bring it down here. We can look at both cars. You can drive mine, I'll drive yours, and we'll see what we can work out." I'm like, okay. I told my dad if we can drive down there. At the time, I'm still 15, so I couldn't drive yet. And I told my dad if we can drive down there to Vancouver to go do this trade. I drive down there in the Mini Cooper, and the guy's like, yeah, everything looks like a fair trade, and he's like we can trade across. So I ended up trade across for this 2003 GMC Denali. He got the Mini Cooper. I brought the GMC Denali home. By far, the GMC Denali was one of my favorite cars overall, like through this journey. Like not only because it was like it was nice, but like it was my first car, official car, because that's when I got my license. This was the car I was driving. Like this was like my technically my first car, like that I was able to drive. So I had this Denali. I put me and my dad put some rims on it. We got an exhaust on it. And overall it was nice. It was like murdered out. It was all blacked out. Black everything. Like there was not a different color on that car besides the license plate, which was like the Oregon Duck license plate. But besides that, like this car was overall nice. Like blacked out. Like couldn't complain about it. But it's still overall, like it wasn't my goal to keep this car and make this car like be like my forever car, you know? So basically, after keeping this car for a good amount of time, I then listed it on OfferUp and Marketplace just to see what I would get offered. And I ended up getting offered 2 Acura RLs, a 2001, a 2002, and a trade for my Denali. So then when I did that trade, I ended up taking this trade. Like to keep in mind, I ended up taking this trade. So I met with the guy. We did the trade across. He took my Denali. I ended up taking the Acuras. And now I'm sitting on 2 Acuras, a 2001 and 2002. I ended up trying to list them as a package deal with that, selling them both of them together. But that never went good because people were trying to like throw low ball offers for both of them that like made no sense. Like I can sell easily just one of them for that. So I ended up selling them individually. I sold them the same day to 2 separate people. So now I had cash in hand to go pick up a different car. And I remember my dad kept on telling me that one of his friends did have a 2007 BMW 530i. And I was like thinking like, oh, BMW, like that's kind of like a hard decision because of it's like they're not really known to be reliable. But then he showed me pictures. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. Could we let's go check it out? He's like, yeah, we can go check it out. So then I end up going to check it out. We look at the car. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. He's like, he told me everything that was like he'd done to it. So like I knew this car was for sure like taken care of. It had kind of low miles for the year. So then I was like, all right, like we'll buy it. So my dad's like, okay, like we'll paid for it. So when we bought the car, brought it back home, had it. I love the car. I overall did, but it still wasn't the car I was looking to keep. Like it was a nice car. Don't get me wrong. I love that car. It was a nice like luxury like BMW. Like nothing wrong with it. No check engine lights. Nothing like no problems. No nothing. But I ended up listing it on OfferUp Marketplace. I ended up getting this couple out of Albany or Eugene. I can't remember. And they come and pick it up. So I ended up selling it. And then after every deal, I made profit. I ended up spending money towards my next car to get. So I kept on working my way up this ladder to keep on making my trade value go up and the resale value go up. So then after I sold this BMW, I'm still thinking like, oh, I'm still far from my goal, but I still need a car. So I ended up getting another SUV, which was a 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4.7 liter V8. It was stock everything, like it was like a farm vehicle, like just people drove it like on fields, and like it was dirty, like it was just like overall like it was like a daily driver for them, like go to work and whatnot. And it was really like dirty. It was like kind of like it was like good condition, but it was just dirty. Like you can tell they used it for work. So I ended up picking up this Jeep for really cheap, which then meant I had a lot of cash left over. So then I ended up putting a satin black wrap on it, 24-inch rims, an exhaust system, a cold air intake, and and I had a system, but I didn't end up putting it in there. But I ended up putting all this money into this Jeep, thinking like, oh, like I may end up keeping this car. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. I ended up being like, I still have my goal set to this car. So then I end up listing it. My friends are mad at me. My dad's like, well, why are you selling it? You just put all this money into it. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's still not what I want. Like I put all my own cash into this Jeep just to sell it. So then my dad's like, all right, like it's your car. Do what you want to do, okay? I'm like, all right. So I list it. People are lowballing me. People are not giving me what I want. So it's like, I'm just take it off. So then I took it off for a bit, and then after a little while, I was like, all right, I still want to get to my goal. So I ended up listing it again. I listed it again. People are still lowballing me. I'm thinking like, all right, like I'll just like say I'm open to trades. And then this guy has offered me a trade for a 2011 Audi A3 with really low miles. So I'm thinking like, that's a no-brainer. My Jeep has 192,000 miles. This one only has 100K. Let me go trade this. So it was already late. It was like 11:30 at night on a school night. We go to Portland, do this trade. But I already know this guy from past deals because we've done car deals with him before. That he had the car I've always been wanting. This AMG that I'm sitting in right now. He had this car from the start. Like I already knew he had this car because he had both of them. So then when I went to go do the trade with him, we ended up doing the full trade, but then I kept on seeing that AMG in his driveway. I'm like that's what I really want right there. Like he had this Mercedes that I'm sitting in right now in his driveway the whole entire time. And I kept on like looking at it, like kind of ignoring the Audi. Like I kept on looking at that car, thinking like that's what I want. Like that's the real reason why I'm doing all this. Is to get to this car. So we ended up doing the trade with the Audi. We leave Portland, go back home. I have this Audi for a bit. The guy has a Jeep. I have this Audi for like maybe not even a month. And then I'm like, I want to sell it. I end up selling it. Have my eyes on this 2006 BMW 650i convertible. And once I sold this car, my whole goal was to get that BMW, sell it, or trade it for that Mercedes. Because of what he was asking for that Mercedes was pretty high. And I was like nowhere near that yet. I didn't have that much cash yet. But my whole goal was to keep on working up my way to get to that amount of cash or the equal trade value for that car. Because he would be willing to trade a lot of different types of cars. He's the type of guy that would trade. Obviously, could trade my Jeep. So I was on my way to Vancouver to go and get this BMW. The guy with the Mercedes, which originally had the Audi too, messaged me back saying like, oh, I kind of need cash right now, so like here's what I can do. He dropped the price mega, but it still wasn't the amount of money I had yet. So I told him what I had, and I told him what I was going to do, which was to go pick up this BMW. And he's like, nah, don't get that car, don't go get that car, that car's slower, like this car's way better. And when I'm like, yeah, I know, like this car is 10 times better than that one. Like I already know, like, cause this is the car over I want. I know it's better, but it's not in my price range yet. Cause my whole goal was to get to that price range. And then he's like, all right, this is what I can do. He ended up dropping the price down to what I originally had. So he ended up dropping that price down pretty low. He dropped it a couple thousand. I ended up changing my mind. Not changing my mind, but my dad is like, we can go get it right now instead. Because we're driving up to Vancouver because I didn't have a car anymore. And then he's like, the car was in Portland. My dad's like, we can go to Portland right now. He already told you that like we can do this deal. I'm like, all right, let's go to Portland. And we go to Portland. I see the car in the driveway. Give him the cash. We get the title. And I'm thinking, now my trading and everything's complete. I got my dream car at 16. After all this time of being patient, trading, I finally got the car I wanted. And I always keep on thinking it's crazy because like Like, not very many people can say they got their dream car at 16. And I'm like one of those people that can say that. After not really like grinding, but like after like being patient and going through so many cars, and my dad telling me like just maybe chill out with this one, and maybe like I never really listened to that because I always wanted to get to this car. And a lot of it, like my dad helped me with a lot of it. Like half of the deals that he was there for every single deal I did. So overall, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you put your mind towards something and you really push for it, you're gonna end up getting something good in the end, or getting what you wanted. Because, I mean, if I can do it, then a lot of people can do it. Because of, I mean, I kind of did a good example of, like, what pushing towards your goal can do. Because of, I mean, I didn't stop when I got a new car and I knew it was nice. I didn't stop because I knew that wasn't what I wanted yet. So overall, like my dad always told me, be patient, don't let anybody lowball you, stick with your offer, know what you have, and don't rush into anything. Because there's been times, I'll be honest, that I wanted to rush into a car because of I saw something, but he saw something different that I didn't see, and he talked me down out of that deal because I'm like thinking like, oh, you're right, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I'm glad there's a lot of times that he talked me out of it. But overall, I mean, that's the story of how I got my dream car at 16. And if there's anything else you want to know, like as in like maybe some more car vids, or maybe of what I should do in the future, I'll probably do like a video about my car or what type of car it is. It's a 2006 CLS 55 AMG. And I'll probably do more videos, like do another video about it, like just the car in general. But overall, I mean, I'll put my socials down below in the description. Leave a like, subscribe, and next video should be coming soon.